So today's video is a little casual. Business, part personal, part career, part lifestyle, all in one. So I wanted to talk about being furloughed. In a previous video, I had mentioned that I've been furloughed since April 20th. And so we're talking, what, a month? I'm looking at the calendar off to the side. Yeah, today makes it exactly 1 month since I've been furloughed. And I know for some people it's an awkward status to be in. Some people aren't really sure. I know in the beginning, a lot of people, including me, wasn't really sure of the differences between being furloughed. So I just wanted to come on and do a video about what it is to be furloughed, dealing with the realization of that job status and just how to maneuver during this time. So the first thing, what is it to be furloughed? Basically, the main thing to keep in mind is it's a temporary leave. You don't get paid, but in most instances, your employer is covering some aspect of your benefits. It may be for a period of time or it may be full coverage. Thankfully, my current employer has made the decision to cover my benefits for the entire time. Also, during the furlough period, there are instances where you know exactly when the period will end. In most instances, you don't know. For me, I'm not sure when it will end. I have a feeling it will probably go through the duration of the summer into the fall, but we shall see. When you find out you are being furloughed, it's an interesting space to be in because you haven't been completely laid off. If you're laid off, it's a complete separation. So most of the time, whatever day it is that you are told you're being laid off, your benefits are covered to the end of that month, and then you can decide whether you want to do things like COBRA or other private insurance options. When you're furloughed, you're not getting paid, but you're most likely getting your benefits covered in some capacity. But it still feels the same in terms of a layoff. So I know for me, I'll just share quick little story time. And I work primarily in recruiting. We really weren't recruiting that much. We had one new hire starting at the time, and that was kind of like my main priority, making sure that that new hire was up and running, figuring out a way, one, how are we going to onboard in a virtual capacity because we hadn't done that before, and then two, making sure that this person had all the necessary tools and resources to get them started. Once that new hire got settled, I really didn't have, to be perfectly honest, I really didn't have much work to do. And so when I actually got the call that I was being furloughed, it wasn't a complete shock. So now you get furloughed. Now what? I think the first thing to do is, I'm kind of looking off to the side because I do have some notes, but the first thing to do is just to deal with the emotional side of things and recognize that for a lot of people, it may not be something that was obviously anticipated. Another thing to keep in mind is that a lot of people have not experienced sudden job shifts like this before, going from one day being employed to the next day being laid off, or one day being employed to the next day being furloughed. So how do you handle that sudden job change, that sudden job shift? You may not have properly planned for something like that because you've had other responsibilities to take care of. It's a shift. I'll say that it is a shift. So make sure you take time to just deal with the emotional impact of that. One good thing during the furlough period is that you are eligible for unemployment. Obviously, every state's unemployment process is different. I am super thankful and super grateful that for me, I got through with unemployment within a week. I know for a lot of people, And I'm sure people have seen it on the news. The unemployment process has been a challenge for many. There were people from since March who are probably still waiting or just now got through with unemployment. So I am super grateful that with unemployment on top of the extra money from the federal government through the stimulus package, that has been able to sustain me during this time. So I've still been able to take care of financial responsibilities, still been able to put money towards savings, still been able to help out around the house with my parents and my family. And so I am super grateful for that. So now that you've dealt with the emotional side, then you get into a headspace of, all right, what do I do in terms of my job situation? For some people, this may be a little, I don't want to say vacation, but a time to just chill out, relax, and just wait until this season comes to an end. For other people, you may have already been in a situation where you started looking for a new job, and you might have just started the interview process or just got into a job search, and then the coronavirus came, and now you're like, okay, what do I do now? I think it's very important, and I'm sharing this information with you as someone who has dealt with the career side of things and am now going through it directly. I've taken a lot of time to think about what I want the rest of my career to look like. So there is a lot of self-reflection that happens during this time, thinking about what you want in your career. Do you want to stay in the same job that you're in? Do you want to stay in the same industry? If you do, fine. And if that's a decision you made, cool. But from a lot of the online articles that I've read, comments that I've seen on social media, a lot more people have been in a space of that they were considering making a move. The coronavirus hit, they're now furloughed, and then they're like, okay, what do I do? So now, even during this time, it doesn't mean that you have to stay stagnant. You have to stay still. Really take time and think about what you want. Do you want to make a move? If you want to make a move, start looking at the jobs that are of interest to you, the companies that you may want to work for. Start, obviously doing things like looking on LinkedIn. And I've shared some of this in other videos about just how to navigate during this time if you want to have a career, if you want to make a career transition. But it does take work. If you are very invested, connecting with someone who is a career consultant, and start having those conversations. If there is a business idea or something that you've kind of had on the back burner that you haven't really had time to consider, start looking at that business venture again. I know for me, I had started my own consulting business, or had put the website together of putting that out there into the universe a few months prior, before all this happened. And then I got furloughed. And so I then decided to really think about, do I want to start pushing this career consulting business a little bit further? I know I look super casual today, but that is okay. That is just the reality of it. I'm not put together all the time, but I still wanted to make sure that I put out a video just to share with you my thoughts and the things that I have experienced and seen from my own personal journey, as well as the journey of others. Take time and think about what it is your next step will be. And then once you figure that out, obviously update your resume where appropriate. Think about the job description or job descriptions that are of interest to you now. Pay attention to what they're looking at. Really understanding the nuances behind a job description, and recognizing that for a lot of people, they see the title and think that every title has the same type of work requirements and skill set, and no. And then you go to apply to that job, you don't hear back, and you wonder why. But that will be a separate video on that. You gotta have a lot of clarity, and you have to have a lot of confidence too. Going back to just dealing with the emotional side of things, it can be a little bruising to the ego. You were working, you were in a routine, you were doing this. Coronavirus came through. I need you to take a seat over here. instead. So you want to make sure you are clear and confident when it comes time to make the move, even during this time. I think a lot of people feel that because a lot of jobs, truthfully, yes, have put their hiring on pause or have been a lot more diligent and strategic and particular about how they move now. They're not as open to interviewing multiple people. So a lot of potential job seekers feel like, oh, I can't make a move. I can't do anything. I have to wait until and then decide I want to go and pursue a certain position. Oh, you can start having conversations now. Obviously, will it be a little different? Will you have to adjust because of the times that we're in? Yes, but it shouldn't stop you completely from going forward with the new position. Once you have the job situation in place, once you think about what you want to move towards, do your networking, so, video chats. We can still network, we can still connect, but because of the times that we're in, it's going to be a little bit more virtual. So don't think that you can't make those connections, because LinkedIn has a lot of resources and a lot of ways in which to connect with people. Let me know if you would like to get some tips and tricks. I do have a career guide, not a career guide, a guide on how to maneuver through LinkedIn if you haven't used it in a while or not sure how to finagle with your profile and just how to maximize your time on LinkedIn as possible. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Leave a comment below. Another thing to keep in mind during this time is just still keeping your mind productive with respect to learning. So once again, LinkedIn has an option for courses. There's tons of content. Articles are being shared throughout the course of the day, or a plethora of articles, news, updates on what's happening in the industry. I know people are tired of Zoom. I'm sure we are all at our capacity, but at the same time, once again, considering the times that we are in, this is what we're dealing with. Take advantage of that as well. And similarly, there's options to volunteer with certain organizations that provide online opportunities. I'm actually working with another organization right now who is working on recruiting some career guides in the greater Boston area to be available for students who are interested in various different industries. And so I will leave that I'll leave the link for that below. If you're in the Boston area specifically and are interested in any sort of volunteer online opportunity, feel free to click that link and sign up and register that way. I know these are super, super uncertain times, and I know we've all heard that, but it really is. And it's very easy to get caught up in the unknown, but literally just take it one day at a time. The furlough period is just for a time. It's not a forever situation, and there will be a time where companies will reach out and ask for their employees to come back. I know that day will come for me as well. And so we take it one day at a time, and we go from there, and we enjoy life even in the midst of this uneasiness, this unknown period. As always, tell a friend to tell a friend that having a little story time, a little chat about careers and life and everything in between. And until next time, see you soon.